Prepare to douse yourself in holiday cheer with today's episode of Dev Diary, the series where I try to make my own video games. Indeed, believe it or not, it is the holiday season, which means that it's that one time a year where we can all appreciate one thing: buff elves and their glistening muscles. In this game, the player controls the buffest of buff elves, who, along with their fellow CPU buff elves, have been given a single task: find the most valuable RAM stick left in Santa's storage. Inspired by some buff birds from earlier this year, this is a top-down free-for-all with a few technical twists. So indeed, the game is typical in its top-down aesthetic, and both the player and CPU elves have but one combat option: the patented buff elf shove of holiday cheer. A move devastating enough to push fellow buff elves back a bit, but not enough to really hurt anyone, because the holidays are about appreciating the muscles, not bruising them. The CPU buff elves are pretty basic in their behavior. They'll move about the level looking for a RAM stick to claim, and once they've acquired one, it's time to get to spreading some holiday cheer. That is, until extraction. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this is an extraction game. Once in a while, Santa will put out an extraction beacon, of which only one can move on, and it's here that things get heated and those muscles get put to good use. And of course, because we're looking for the best of the best RAM sticks here, the extraction is merely a transition into the next level where the player continues their search, because there's always better RAM out there, and Santa won't let you forget it. Speaking of RAM, these can be found in random boxes spawned across the level. Each is given a rarity rating which influences its stats, and these stats are more than just a simple mark of status, but also influence the way that the holder of said RAM stick perform. Thus, the better the RAM stick, the better the buff elf. The included stats are move speed, shove cooldown, max health, and damage dealt. Now yes, the shove of holiday cheer are not meant to bruise the muscles, but that doesn't mean that they don't bruise the ego. Indeed, in our game, our buff elves live off of ego, and shoving too much holiday cheer into their glistening muscles will cause them to explode, leaving behind any RAM that they may have been carrying. If the player so happens to already be holding some RAM, they can compare RAM sticks and swap them at any time. Heck, if the player rather roll with the default stats, they can also drop their RAM stick at any time by right-clicking on the stick in the menu screen. And not to discredit anything that we just covered, but the biggest technical accomplishment for this week's project wasn't the buff elves, rather the world that they inhabit. Kinda like this bit that inhabits the video to remind you that if you enjoy the content, supporting me on Patreon is the best way to help me keep making it. Doing so can get you access to exclusives and even early access to the weekly Dev Diary videos before they're released on YouTube. But in all seriousness, you may have noticed that this game implements a quote-unquote view mechanic similar to games like Among Us. Like where the player's visual of the world around them is like obstructed by walls in real time. In our case, the unknown area is a black and white version of the basic layout of each level, with the quote-unquote real game being visible when necessary. And fun fact, I discovered this by accident while trying to build a new vision cone system for the CPU. And in fact, it's the same system powering the CPU in this game. Basically, by accidentally inverting the code and applying it to the walls resulted in the effects shown in this video. It's not perfect, but given a more robust version likely requires like knowing the dark arts of math, you know, I'm taking this one as a win. So that was the project, just a little fun way to celebrate some buff elves for the holiday. I hope you, your friends, and family can all find solace in some buff elves in these trying times. And be sure to let me know what else would make your experience with these buff elves even better in the comments. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like. And if you're not already subscribed, why not flex on that subscribe button? But with that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary. So thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your holiday season, and I'll see you next time.